Yeah. And give me 1 second. I'm setting my screen. Hope it is visible to all.
Yep.
Yeah.
First of all, welcome to the 20th Patna MuleSoft Meetup group. So the topic for today is simplifying plugin and dependency management with POM, Parent-POM and BOM. This is a very interesting topic. In all the projects we use POM, but not many of us are aware of the parent BOM or BOM. We will try how to design a good solution. Syam is the speaker. So we are in the organizing team for the Patna MuleSoft group. So I will start with my introduction. I'm Amit Mohan. I'm working in Epicero as a solution architect. I'm a certified MCI and MCPA architect. Has been in MuleSoft ecosystem for over 6 years and likes to contribute to the ecosystem by doing meetups and being a speaker. And I will hand over to Shyam for a quick
Yeah.
intro.
So I'm Shyamrat Prasad. So I'm working as an engineering leader at Tricon Infotech, and also I love to share the knowledge. If I'm the person behind the database fund page in the LinkedIn, so I usually share some tips around database daily, so you can follow that place. Yeah. Thank you for joining. Uh, I'm handing over to Om Prakash. Thank you.
Hi, hi everyone. Good morning. Om Prakash this side, and I am in the Salesforce ecosystem from 10 years, and I love sharing knowledge and learning from each other. And one of the organizer of this group. Looking forward for your feedback, and yeah, if you are looking for speak with us, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Om. So, like I'm just reading the safe harbor statement. Both the speaker and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity. We are not representing our companies here. This presentation is strictly for learning purpose. Organizer presenter do not hold any responsibility that the same solution will work for your business requirement. This presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. Some housekeeping. The recording will be uploaded to the event page within 24 hours. You can ask question in the tabs and you can unmute your mic and ask question. Be interactive. We want to make this session as interactive as possible. Don't just listen, contribute and give us the feedback. Without your feedback, we cannot improve our session. This is bread and butter for our meetup. So after the event, your form will go. Please take 2 or 3 minutes to fill that form, and your feedback is of utmost important. So I will ask Sam. I will hand over to Sam. He can share his screen, and he works with me in an episode, and he will introduce himself and the topic. Yeah, Sam, you can share your screen. I will stop mine.
Yeah, thank you, Amit Shah and Om. I'll share my screen. Let me know once it is visible.
Yeah. You can.
Okay. So, hey, hello everyone. Good morning. Uh, really appreciated you joining this session. My name is Sham Kulkarni. I'm working as a lead engineer at Epicero, entity data company. I'm certified MCD level 2, MCIA, MCPA, MIA, and MCD level 1. Uh, we'll move to today's topic, that is simplifying plugin and management using POM, Parent-POM, and BOM, bill of materials. So, dependency management is a complex and often a frustrating part of software development. And you might also be worried about how to manage different plugins and dependencies efficiently. So, in this session, I'll show you an efficient way to manage dependencies for your MuleSoft applications. So, let's get started. So, before that, we'll touch base some Maven basics. Okay. So we use Maven to avoid writing scripts for building projects and manually downloading the dependencies. What are dependencies? Dependencies are nothing but libraries or jar files, Java archive files. And we need to specify required dependencies within a pom.xml file. Now, Maven, it parses the pom.xml file and checks for dependencies within the local Maven repository, that is .m2 folder. You might have seen in your projects, right? Now, if it doesn't find them in the local Maven repository, it tries to get them from the Maven central repository, which is the remote repository. Okay. that is plugins or dependencies, and it stores it in a local Maven repository that is .m2. So it will fetch it from remote repository, download it, and keep it in the local M2 repository. Okay. But the question arises, how does Maven finds them, right? So Maven uses Maven coordinates, which is a combination of group ID plus artifact ID plus version, GAV coordinates. Okay. For everything like project dependencies and plugins defined in the POM.xml. And for external credentials, it makes use of Maven settings.xml to connect with external repositories like Anypoint Exchange or Mule Maven Enterprise Repo. One really interesting thing or common thing we have encountered, when you run your munit test, right, it requires downloading the munit libraries from the Mule Enterprise Maven repo. So whenever we work for the client projects, right? Client have or MuleSoft itself create a client Nexus repository for them and provide them with the credentials to access that repository. And if you look at those jar files for munits, those are only found in that particular Nexus repo. So in order to run your munit test via Maven command, you need to add credentials for that particular repository uh, to access that jar files. Okay. So within the settings.xml, we give the credentials which will be used by Maven to connect with this external repositories. So now within Maven, there is a specific which Maven follows to deploy and distribute the target projects. So there are three built-in life cycles: default, clean, and site. So what is default? It is the main life cycle. It is also called as the build life cycle. Okay. So it is the main life cycle of Maven as it is responsible for project deployment. Then comes clean. So clean lifecycle cleans the project and removes all the files generated by previous build. You might have seen when you create a mule project and you go to the root level of your project, right? And when you go cmd and do execute a maven clean command, or let's say maven package command, what it does, it creates a executable jar file inside the target folder, right? Now, if we need to clean that, we use mvn clean command. So what it does, mvn clean command cleans and removes all the files generated by the build, right? So it will remove the target directory directly. Now, coming to the site lifecycle. So what is site lifecycle does? The aim of the site lifecycle is to create project site documentation. Okay. Now each lifecycle, okay, it is made up of sequence of phases. And what is a Maven phase then? It is a stage in Maven build lifecycle, and each phase executes a specific task. Now, here are some important phases, okay, in the default build lifecycle. So I'll go through each one of them. So what does validate phase does? So it checks if all the information necessary for build is available or not. Then comes the initialize phase. Then comes the compile phase, which compiles the source code, then test compile, which compiles the test source code, then comes the test phase, which runs the unit test cases, then comes the package. So when we do MVN package, right? So it packages the compiled source code into a distributed format like Java archive file, jar file, or war file, okay, web archive. Then comes integration test phase, which process and deploy package if it needed to run any integration test. Then comes the verify phase and then install phase. So when we do install phase, mvn install, it installs to a local repository that is .m2. Okay. Then comes the deploy. So it copies all the package to a remote repository. Okay. So let's say if you run the command mvn deploy, okay.
Maybe you click on
Yeah.
hide.
Yeah. I'll, so when you will run this command mvn deploy, so that is the deploy phase, which is the last phase, right, in the default build lifecycle. Then this will execute all the phases prior to the deploy phase as well. So when you do mvn deploy, it will execute all these phases. Let's say if you do mvn package, then it will execute from validate to package. Okay, so it is kind of a cascading thing. Now each phase, right, each phase is a sequence of goal, and each goal is responsible for a specific task. So when we run a phase, all the goals bound to this particular phase execute in order. So MVN phase is same as MVN space plugin colon goal. Okay, so example can be compile is having compile colon compile goal, test is having surefire colon test goal, package is having jar colon, and so on. Right? Now let's see about Mule Maven plugin. So Mule Maven plugin enables you to integrate the packaging and deployment of your Mule application within the Maven lifecycle. So you can use MVN package, like we saw the syntax earlier, right? MVN phase, it's same as MVN plugin colon goal. So you can use MVN package directly, or you can wish to use something like this, or Mule tools, Maven, then followed by artifact ID, and then the version colon the goal name, right? So it is going to package your application into. So when we execute this maven package command, you might have observed in the target directory we get a executable jar file, and if you look at the naming convention, how it generates it, it is in the form of artifact ID. Okay, your name of your project, a mule application, right, followed by version, that is whatever you give, 1.0.0, followed by this particular suffix mule application jar. Okay, now similarly you can deploy your mule application or mule application jar file to cloud hub rt for standalone servers. Okay, now let's see a scenario. Now consider a scenario where an e-commerce organization is launching new mobile application to provide online shopping experience to its customers. There are multiple development teams like order fulfillment and payment service teams. They are building integrations and APIs required to support end-to-end solution. Now, this requires designing consumer-focused API specifications and connecting multiple internal and third-party systems while also working with the central IT. So to realize this, a set of APIs and integrations are being developed using MuleSoft by adding to API-led methodology. Each team is working at its own pace. Now, one of the major pain points that every team faces is to effectively manage the dependencies in Mule applications, right? So, an organization's IT leadership typically sets these standards that must be met as per the compliance and governance standards. Each team must only use central IT approved dependencies, Mule Maven plugins, and their associated versions. Each team is also responsible for reducing the redundancy as much as possible, which includes to make use of existing functionality wherever possible, also making use of the standard and enterprise logging and exception handling frameworks, which are already available in the corporate Nexus repository as Mule models. Other examples also include common Mule flows, reusable data view modules, etc. Mm. Also, each team must make use of the common health checkpoint implementations in every Mule app. So this is also packaged as a Mule module and it is published to Nexus repository. And each team must adhere to corporate governance standards such as um, repository organization and branching strategies, which can be a poly repository model. So in this scenario, okay, the challenge is how we can effectively manage dependencies in a poly repository model. Okay, you can assume something like this: you have a one project but multiple line of businesses and multiple teams are working, right? So as we understand the current scenario and the organization structure, we assume the following: that each team is responsible for building a specific set of APIs and Mule application while also maintaining their source code in Git repositories, and each team decides the plugin they want to use while the central IT dictates the versions of commonly used modules and plugins. Okay, now here comes the main part. We'll see build redundancies and duplication. Okay, so we'll talk about issues with dependency management. Okay, build redundancies and how to solve them using parent POM and master BOM concepts. Okay, So let's understand why dependency and plugin management is a complex task by taking a simple example. Um, let's assume we have a developer, Chris. Okay, he's working on an application called Project ABC. His pom.xml file contains Mule Maven plugin version as 1.1.1, and he is using one worker of type micro, and he's also having a HTTP connector of version 1.1.1. Okay, now his Maven package MVN package command is failing, and he is unable to fix it. Okay, so he connects with another teammate, Jamie. Okay, so Jamie is also a developer working on a same project, Project ABC. Upon discussion, they found that Jamie's Maven package command is working as expected. Okay, but they found that they are using different configuration values. So Jamie's pom.xml defined Mule Maven plugin configuration version as 2.2.2, and she is using two workers of type large. Okay, and use 1.2.2 of HTTP connector. Okay, now both of them, they are not sure which configuration is correct, so they reached out to another developer. His name is Colin. Okay, uh, and so both of them are not sure like which configuration is correct, so they reached out to another developer, Colin, who is working on a different let's say different application named as project XYZ. And Colin's pom.xml configuration uses all the latest versions of plugins and dependencies. So here we can see this issue arises when an organization doesn't have a standard build configuration in place, right? So this can be avoided by extracting like Maven plugin configurations which are not specific to Mule application to a reusable parent POM. So cloud hub deployment tag, right? This is not specific to a let's say Mule application. So we can extract this out from a project specific pom.xml into a reusable parent POM. Okay. At the same time, dependency management, it can also be extracted into their own parent POM, which is called as bill of materials. Okay. So the reason we have a separate POM for versions and for plugin management, it is because it is more common to update dependencies or plugin versions compared to plugin configurations. So rarely we do some changes on plugin configurations, right? But we often change the plugin versions or dependency versions, right? So in this way, like we can reduce the dependencies by making all projects using a centralized parent POM and BOM. Okay. So I'll move to the demo part. I hope we are good until this point. If anybody has any questions, you can ask, or I'll just move to the demo directly. I hope you are able to see AnyPoint Studio screen. Is it?
Yep.
Okay. So in order to save some time, okay, I have just made a simple project. So I'll give a rough idea whatever I have done until now. So Bookstore API, I have created a API specification in the design center. It is a simple RAML, having just a single endpoint, get books from the store. Okay, and I have just scaffolded it into my studio, and I have not provided any implementation to that. It is just whatever Anypoint Studio have provided me with the scaffolding. Then what I have done. So if we look at the API kit router config, right? I'll just show you. So before here, API was having value as something like this. I'll show you resource colon colon API dot group ID, right? So in this particular format, group ID and artifact ID version, and then this. So I have replaced them with these placeholders in the properties file. Okay, and coming to the pom.xml. So I've just built a simple whatever we have right in pom.xml or all the plugins and dependencies. I have tried to include them over here. Along with I have added the repositories as well, repositories and plugin repositories. Okay. Now, before that, I wanted to, before coming to that building parent POM and BOM, I wanted to show you one interesting point. Okay, uh, it is regarding Maven resource filtering plugin. Okay, uh, so we'll see what is Maven resource filtering, why we need to use it, and how to use it. Before that, I'll just give you like run this project to show you if this project is working or not. Let's see. So meanwhile, this is getting deployed. So this is just a basic simple run. Okay. So we'll see about Maven resource filtering. Okay. So to avoid any duplicate configuration values, we have externalized the properties to our properties YAML file. Okay. But duplicates can arise when working with dependency properties. So as we see here, in so when I downloaded this dependency, so it gets downloaded as a YAML file, right? Or it gets added as a dependency from Exchange whenever I import this particular API from Exchange. So it get added as a dependency. Now, if you look at the GAV coordinates uh, for this particular dependency, as well as the API kit router configuration that we just saw, right? Here API specification. So both are the same things, right? So duplicates can arise, right, when we are working with the dependency properties. If the same Maven coordinates, and this can raise issues in the future as well. So for example, if the version of the API specification is updated, it needs to be updated in two places now, and it will raise error if we missed updating in either of the files, right? So to avoid this, we can make use of Maven resource plugin. Okay, I'll show you. Yeah, this is the plugin. So a Maven resource filtering, it uses placeholders in the resource files and replace them with the actual values during the configuration. And this plugin has multiple goals, like a resource goal, which copies the resources that are part of the main source code, and the resources goal copy the resources that are part of the test source code. Okay. Now in the given configuration, there is a parameter named filtering, right? So what this filtering parameter does, and it has filtering parameter is having the value of true, right, for specifically for the properties.yaml file. So this filtering parameter, it is used to replace the placeholder variables in the resource files. And apart from goals, we can also add some configurations to filter some extensions which don't require filtering. So we have added some extensions like P12, CRT, PEM, and JKS. So these files will be ignored while filtering. Okay. So we don't want to do any filtering in this file, so we can exclude these files from filtering as well by defining the configuration. Um, uh, so in the future, let's say any changes to the this particular coordinates, right? Those group ID, artifact ID, and version. If there are any changes to the coordinates, it can be done in the pom.xml file properties alone, and it will be reflected in multiple base places. Okay. So let's see whether our application is deployed. Yeah. I'll just execute it. Let's see if we get, yeah, we are getting a response. Now, I'd like to show you one more thing. We'll just extract the properties, okay? Or we'll just add the placeholders, show in System Explorer. Mm, So let me go to properties YAML file. And instead of this, what I will do, I will just replace it with the placeholders, okay? API dot group ID. Here it will come API dot artifact ID and dollar API dot version. Let me just click on save and show you the project root folder. Let's see the target classes properties. Now you can see we are only able to see the placeholder values, right? These values are not being replaced by the actual values. So one another thing I missed out to do in the pom.xml, we have this three coordinates, right? Group ID, artifact ID, and version. I'll just extract them, and in the properties section, I will add them. Okay. Mm, I'll follow a specific format like API dot group ID, API dot artifact ID, API dot version. Okay, and
Opening tag is not proper.
yeah, now it is correct. I'll just copy all these three values, API dot artifact ID, and will replace with the placeholder values in the dependency section as well for the RAML. First, starting with group ID, dollar API dot. I didn't copy that. Artifact ID and version. API dot version. So now you can see we have pom.xml files properties section as one source of reference for this particular GAV coordinates of the let's say API specification. We have added placeholder in this particular dependency section as well. So these properties are fetched from the properties of pom.xml, and this properties also, this will be fetched from properties you can say pom.xml's properties section. Now how this properties or these values will be getting populated from this properties section, right? So in order to do that, we will use the Maven resource filtering. Okay, so in the source main resources, we have the properties.yaml file, right? Let me just format it. Yeah. So what we have done, so for the, we have given two roles here, right? So what is the first role? So we have mentioned the directory, look at the source main resources, and don't do any kind of a filtering. Okay, don't do any kind of a filtering on this. But we have defined another role specifying the same directory, but now here the filtering is true. This filtering is specifically for the properties.yaml file. Basically, when we say filtering equals to true, right, it states that inject these properties from your pom.xml file into the placeholder values. Inject those properties. Okay, so now let me give it a run and show you how that works. Okay, as of now saw that, right, in the target folders classes section. Let me show you again. Where is it? Yeah, in the target properties file, see, the properties are not yet populated, but when I will run this, even in the console logs, right, you will be able to see it states that copying this resources into that particular thing. So mm, let's see. Yeah, you can see copying two resources, copying one resources. So this is a part of Maven resource plugin only. Let's see once the build is success. Okay. Yeah. Now if I open, see, the values are replaced with the placeholder values. So this is the application of Maven resource filtering plugin. Okay. We just have placeholder values here and kept the main properties in the property section of pom.xml, and we have just added a placeholder values. Now it is the responsibility of Maven resource filtering plugin to inject those properties here. I hope this point is clear to everybody. Uh, let's run it. Let's see if everything is working properly. And now we will move on to building Parent-POM and BOM. Okay. Uh, just close this. Yeah, we are
Excellent.
able to. Yeah, sorry.
No, nothing, Sham. It was by mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So let me stop this application. So what I will do, I'll just open this particular pom.xml in Notepad file. Okay, Notepad plus plus. I was on this particular folder. Yeah. Before that, let me show you some interesting thing. So let's say if you want to know which settings.xml file is being used currently by my workspace, right? So the basic command is mvn colon help mvn space help colon effective hyphen settings. Okay. So it will directly print our settings.xml with the credentials masked. Okay. So you can see this is the settings.xml I'm using. I'm using Nexus repository credential. I'm using my own trial account username and password, Anypoint platforms, and I'm using one Exchange repository. Okay, so this is how you can access your settings XML. Um,
There
and
is
let
a
me
one question in the chat. So instead of placing properties in the POM, can we refer from external file?
then what's the use of that, right? We are already extracting the values, right, in the properties YAML file only. It is just that since the properties are same at the both the places, right? We have added that in the properties section directly, so that if the change occurs, let's say after some time you had a new requirement, you changed your API specification, right? You added another endpoint, the version changed to 1.0.1, right? If you are using semantic versioning, so if the change is happening at one place, right, it is reflected in all the places, right? So that's the advantage over here. And like I didn't get your question. Like, can we refer it from external file? So we extract our properties, right? Let's say if you are having any credentials connecting to an external system, let's say Salesforce or JWT or any other thing. So we do extraction of those in the properties YAML file only, and we refer it using the configuration properties section here. Correct.
And there are a couple of way also, like we can
Hmm.
read it from the AWS secret managers and Azure. We can place and we can read it from there also, but we have to do some extra
Yeah.
configuration.
Yeah. So when you raise this point, right, AWS S3, so I have come across this use case almost a year ago. So we have some secret credentials, right, which we extract into properties YAML file. So the requirement was whenever a Mule application will get deployed, so they don't want this what you say the properties secure YAML file, right, having the encrypted credentials to be placed in the Mule application jar file. They didn't want that. They wanted to place that particular file in Amazon S3 some folder. Okay, while doing deployment, right, while executing that CI/CD process. Okay, when that project will be packaged, before packaging, the requirement was to fetch that particular credentials file from Amazon S3 and put it in your source main resources folder, and then do the mvn package command, that is building an executable jar file. So I've seen this particular requirement. So I guess Shamraj was referring to
Uh,
that, right?
Sham, the one that you just explained, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
externalizing those, the Maven coordinates to the properties.
Mm-hmm. Uh, have we lost him?
I think, yeah,
Oh,
you can continue.
Yeah, I think he got.
okay. So yeah, I'll move to building. Okay. Then, so,
If you're allowed to speak, I can ask my question.
Just
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So exactly the same. The question that I asked. So how to externalize, similar to what you explained. I don't want to place the properties in the POM. Instead,
Mm-hmm.
it should be outside. For example, the Azure Vault. For example, all the information has to sit in the Azure Vault, and
Mm-hmm.
then the all the properties has to be replaced from an Azure Vault instead of the POM, because it's a credential. Of course, um, you encrypt it. It's not an
Mm-hmm.
human understandable format, but still, I don't want to place it in the POM.
Correct.
Instead, I want that to be an Azure Vault, and
Mm-hmm.
when I build the application, I want to prepare this property, the replaced property file, it
Yeah.
based on the filtering. That's okay to scan through all the folders, but
Mm-hmm.
then the information has to come from the Vault or AWS instead of the POM
Mm-hmm.
directly.
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah, such kind of a provision can be made, but I haven't worked on Azure World specifically, so I can't
Okay.
comment concretely on that. But definitely that can be implemented.
So if when you say that can be implemented, so we have to
Mhm.
build completely a different flow
Yeah,
to
so I guess
prepare
it
this.
will be a part of CI/CD process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
Yeah, sorry, Shyam, like I dropped off. My laptop battery got drained
yeah,
up.
no
So,
problem, no problem at all.
so my question was like the one that you just explained, externalizing, that Maven coordinates to the properties file will be more useful when we want to, maintain a separate version of dependencies at each environment, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just open this in pom.xml mule application specific pom.xml in Notepad. Okay, and then what I will do, I'll just create two files here. Um, Let me just open it. By the name parent-pom.xml. Okay, and let me just copy it, but give another name. Will be master bomb. Okay, so let me open parent-pom as well. So let me open this in split view. Okay, move to other view. So we have a mule application specific pom.xml on the left hand side and parent-pom on the right hand side. Okay? So we will keep pom.xml as a base and we will build out parent-pom.xml. Later on, we will keep parent-pom as the base and we will build the bill of materials BOM file. Okay. So we just copy all the contents from here to here, the parent-pom. Now let's do the segregation, how we need to do. Now this particular properties, right? This will be specific to a mule application. So let's remove that from parent-pom. And this particular properties, this will be common to every mule application, right? So let's remove this from application specific form. Okay, don't save it, and because we might get a error. Pom.xml might have some problems, right? So we can save this. Okay, one another important point. So it is always a best practice to keep your group ID as your Anypoint platform business group ID. Okay. So if I show you how to look at your business group ID, there are two ways. You can go to access management and then environments. So another way is to directly look at this particular URL because we are in the MS Meetup business group, right? So directly look at it. Mm, Apart from that, yeah, I was in Notepad. Artifact ID of this parent POM will be, I'll change the artifact ID name. It will be parent POM. Version I will keep it as 1.0.0. Packaging, it will not be Mule application, it will be POM. We'll change the name here as well. Parent POM. Then all the plugin management, right? Uh, Search for that. So if we talk about build configurations, right? So we will use plugin management over here for plugins. So for defining, so let's say Mule Maven plugin inside the plugin management, we can use the default versions and configurations of this plugin across all the child projects while allowing the child projects to execute this plugin as needed. Okay. So after build, I'll add one tag plugin management management. Okay. Let me copy this and end it as well for the build. Okay, with a closing tag. Save this plugins XML tools. Yeah. Now um, we need to do is we can directly remove this repositories section from here directly. Repositories and plugin repositories. Okay. From the Mule application specific pom.xml, we don't need it. Everything will be managed over parent pom. Apart from that, we will also remove all the dependency versions from here. Okay, we don't need that. Oh, I deleted. So we will remove all the dependency versions except the one dependency, which is the because it is specific to a Mule application, right? This particular thing. Okay. And these dependencies will be inside the dependency management tag. Okay. So dependency management management tag. Let me close it as well. Okay. Yeah, over here with a closing tag. Hmm. Now so we have dependencies over here with no versions, right? Uh, Also, what another thing we need to do? So we already saw in one of the slides, right? What will this parent POM contain? So parent POM will only contain the plugin configurations, right? So we can eliminate these plugin configurations from here directly. We can remove the configurations from Mule application specific form. This thing as well. Wait, yeah. Let me remove this thing as well. Configuration. So coming to Emunit Maven plugin, right? So you can have a standard Emunit like application coverages in place. Let's say the client requirement is which we should need at least 70% or 80%, right? So you can define it over here. As of now, this is kind of a proof of concept, so I haven't included that. But yeah, definitely you can do. uh, you might have a need to add a configuration for Emunit Maven plugin specific to your Mule application. Can anybody tell me what can that be? Anybody? Anybody over here? Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are audible.
Okay, so there is one configuration that can be specific to your Mule application for Emunit, and that can be ignoring some files for Emunit coverage, right? So you can add your configuration over here and ignore some files which you don't want to be a part of your Emunit test cases. Okay. Um, this is one. So we have removed all the can say the configuration from here and added it to here. Yeah, it should say pom.xml has some problems because I have clicked on here. So also our Mule application pom.xml file, how it will be able to reference to this parent pom.xml file, right? So for that, we will be copying this group ID, artifact ID, and version, and I will add a parent tag over here. closing tag as well, and I will place this. Let me do a pretty print. Yeah. So now what it does, so this Mule application specific pom.xml file, it references to this particular parent having artifact ID, parent pom, group ID, and version. You can also add a relative path. Let's say this is your project root structure, right? If you create another folder, let's say parent pom, and inside that you place your pom.xml file, you can also give a relative path, something like this, dot dot forward slash parent hyphen pom and then pom.xml file. So it will reference to that particular folder. Okay. As of now, I am not adding because this is POC only. So I'll show you the basic stuff. Uh, Apart from that, we have let's remove plugin versions as well. We don't require plugin versions from here. All things will be managed from parent form. Yeah, sorry, version and immunity version as well. Okay. Now our parent form is ready. I will, yeah, let's give it a try. So there is this folder. Yeah. So I'll copy this particular path. Okay, and do a CMD over here. The command is mbn space hyphen f, and I'll give the path parent pom.xml, and I will do clean install. Okay. What this will do, it will execute all the phases before the install phase. That is, it will do the packaging, it will do um, it will deploy to sorry, it will keep that particular file to the local m2 repository as well. So let me show you the local m2 repository. So you can see this is my customized local m2 repository under this business group id. So because it goes under group id only, so for now what do we have? Bookstore api, right, which was downloaded from Anypoint Exchange. Okay. So we need to install this parent pom to this particular M2 repository. In order to do that, we have to do mven clean install. Let's see if it works or not, or if we have some errors. It doesn't matches the valid ID pattern. Now why this error? Anybody? What mistake do we have made here? Anybody? Like any mistake that we have do here? So it is in front of us only. So um, you can see this particular dependency, it is application specific, right? And we have mistakenly added this particular dependency in parent pom.xml. So we need to remove this particular dependency. Now let's see um, whether we get an error or not. Yeah, so the build is success. So let's read the statement, what it has done. Installing this particular pom.xml parent pom, right, where to our uh, this particular repository, local m2 repository. You guys might have a question. Okay, Sham, how it is getting installed to this particular repository, whereas in our projects we have seen that we have something called as, okay, let me open a new tab. When we go to this PC, go to users, right, in my own name, and then we have a .m2 repository. It should be uh, downloaded, or it should be installed over here, right? Then why it is not working that way, and it is going to my custom m2 repository? The reason is, if I show you my mm, settings.xml, indian help colon effective hyphen settings dot xml. Okay. uh, oh, no, not xml. Okay, indian space help colon effective hyphen settings. So you should be able to see one tag which states local repository. So I have given explicitly that so settings.xml or Maven explicitly sees that, okay, this is the place which we need to refer for M2 repository. Okay, so this is responsible for installing at this particular place. Okay, now it still shows the pom.xml has some problems. Let me close the project and let me open it once again. Let's see if it has some problems or if it is good to go. Now you can see there are no problems, right? It is giving no error. Now I'll ask you one question. Okay, we don't have any plugin version or dependency version defined in the pom.xml, right? But if you look at the project structure, we are still seeing HTTP connector version as 1.7.3. Now, from where these versions are coming? Anybody? Am I audible to you?
Yes,
Yeah, we are
yeah.
parenting in this application XML, right, to the parent
Yeah,
POM to
correct.
refer
And
to
it,
those
yeah,
plugin
correct,
corresponding artifact IDs, and then it will pick up that version from their parent POM.
correct. So it is this particular tag which is fetching those dependency and plugin versions from our parent pom.xml file. Absolutely correct. Okay, so this way we have built this parent POM. Now, keeping parent POM as the base, okay, we will build our master BOM.xml. So let me just drag and drop it over here and go to master BOM. This file is empty and open it in split view. Okay. All right. Now let me just copy paste the entire file into the master BOM as well. So first things first. Um, Let me quickly add a parent tag as well. Okay. So that this parent POM will refer to our master BOM. Okay. Before that, the artifact ID of this particular file will be master BOM. Version will be 1.0.0. This name will also go change master BOM. Okay. What other things that we need to take care of? Let me check. So all the plugin configuration should be placed in this thing. What is it? Parent POM only. All the plugin configurations. So we can remove dependency management completely from this side. Okay. Also, we can remove repositories as well. Everything will be managed in the bill of materials file. Okay. So I'm removing the complete thing. Only the build plugin management will be present over here. Now, even the plugin versions, right? We shouldn't be keeping over here, as I've explicitly mentioned, right? All the dependency and plugin versions as well will be residing in bill of materials file only. So I will remove the plugin versions as well from here. Okay, let's remove this plugin version as well. Mule Maven plugin version and unit version as well. Let's save it. Now moving on, yeah, we need to copy this GAV coordinates, group ID, artifact ID. So this parent pom.xml will reference master BOM. Okay, we do XML pretty print, save it. Yeah. Now let's move on to this particular master BOM. We see, let's apply placeholders over here because and add it in the properties file. So I will add maven dot resources dot version. Okay, let me copy this. It is with the version 3.2.0. Yeah. Before doing that, also the plugin, since the plugin configurations are being handled in the parent pom.xml, we can safely remove them from our master BOM, right? There will be no configurations residing here. Uh, let's remove this as well. Let's remove this thing as well because this thing is being taken care of in Parent-POM. We You can see, right, it is a lot more cleaner now. Only build a plugin management is in Parent-POM, and rest all of the things are in plugin configurations are in Parent-POM, and rest all the versions and dependencies and repositories, plugin repositories in the bill of materials file. Okay. uh, yeah, we were adding the placeholders over here, so let's do this. Maven dot resources dot version, Maven clean dot version, Maven dot clean dot version. It is 3.2.0. Let me replace it with the placeholder. This is already been taken care of. You can see Mule Maven plugin version, right? Uh, munit.version is also taken care of directly. So let's do the same for dependencies as well. So http dot connector dot version. Okay. So the version is 1.7.3, and let me replace this with placeholder. Sockets version is, let me just copy this only, replace it with sockets is 1.2.3, and replace it with placeholder here. API kit dot version is 1.9.0. Rest, yeah, I need to add a placeholder here. Okay. MUnit runner and MUnit tools. So for MUnit runner and MUnit tools, you can see it is the same version as of MUnit Maven plugin, right? $MUnit dot version. So I can leverage this thing only directly. Or let me copy it from $MUnit dot version. Uh, this here, replace here as well. Okay. Then we have assertions, validation, and VM. Okay. Assertions dot version is run. Assertions. And validation dot version. So this is validation module, right? And one more thing, that is VM dot version, right? VM module. Okay, now we need to have their versions. It is 1.0.2, 1.0.2, validation 2.0.4, and Mule VM connector, it is 2.0.0. Okay. Let me copy this tags, will replace it with placeholders there. Starting from assertions, version, validation module, and over here is VM.version. Okay. Um, I hope I haven't missed out on any point until now. Let me cross check. Yeah, apart from that, since we are using a Mule Maven plugin configuration for CloudUp deployment, let's add some few tags. Okay, we won't be deploying to CloudUp, but I'll just show you. So if you look at anypoint.platform.visualizer.layer, right, this will be Mule application specific. So let me add one tag over here. API.visualizer.layer, right? So from where it will be coming? It will be coming from here. Let's say it is a system API. So this and XML tools pretty here as well. We do the same. Okay. Um, let's save it. I hope I'm good until this point. Uh, and I'm audible as well, right?
Yes, Shyam. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Now, one important thing that we need to keep in mind, whenever we do any kind of a change in either our parent POM or our master POM, we need to install it to our local M2 repository. Otherwise, that change won't be reflected, right? So that is one basic necessity. Uh, so let me first install our parent POM. So the build is success. If I look at my M2 repo, uh, yeah, so both the things are installed now. Let me delete it, okay? I'll show you how it is getting populated in the local M2. We do parent pom.xml clean install. Yeah. So it is say it is installing both the things. Let me do this thing as well. Master bomb. Okay. And now let's open our project. Closing it and again open it. So this update is regarding Anypoint Exchange using Exchange v3 because I'm using 7.15 Studio Workspace. So it is automatically suggesting me to use Anypoint Exchange v3 repository. And let me see if the connector versions are populating correctly or not. See, API kit 1.9.0. It is all coming from you can say this master bomb only. Also, you can wish to remove this versions from here as well. Okay, I forgot to do that. Let me, since I have done the change, I will do a nvn clean install. Now if I close it and again open it, and let's see if the project runs or not. After this, what we will see, let's try to change our dependency version from master bomb, and let's see if the changes are getting reflected here as well. Okay, so this will be our next point. Until then, if you have any questions, you can ask.
Yeah, I have a question. Hi.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So we saw that in settings.xml,
Mhm.
we have the local repository set up,
Correct.
right? But this is only for, I think this is only for POCs. Now, in the usual scenarios, projects, actual projects, this parent POM and BOM would reside in a
Any
repository.
point exchange or any
Endpoint
Nexus
exchange.
repository, right?
So we need to have that Nexus repository link within settings.xml.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I can tell you one another point. Let's say since this I'm you can say installing into my local M2 repository, right? But in real time cases, you will be deploying it to any point exchange, right? As a custom type. You might have seen this. Let me show you. So you have to deploy it to exchange. So there is one another tag that you need to add here. that is distribution management tag. So what this distribution management tag does, it deploys that to a particular remote repository. So for that you need to give the credentials. So it can be anything. Anypoint Exchange is also kind of a repository only, right? And it can be Nexus thing as well, corporate Nexus repository. I'll show you how that looks. So you have to select custom, okay? You have to enter your asset name and then file. So it will reference from here. And in order to do that, you have to add something like type custom over here. As of now, I will omit this. Let's see, the project has deployed. Let's see the response. Yeah, we are able to successfully get the response. Now, let me stop the project. And let's downgrade a HTTP connector version. Okay, let's do it 1.6.0. Okay, for now, if you look at the project structure, it is influencing 1.7.3, right? And let's save it. Since I have made a change, my first focus would be on installing it. Let's do master bomb. Let's do a clean install. Now this has been installed. Now if I see, it is still 1.7.3. Let me close the project and open it once again. Now you can see at the bottom right corner, it is trying to fetch. Let me see. Yeah, you can see the connector version has changed to 1.6.0. So this implies our connector and sorry, the dependency or the connector versions, right? And the plugin versions, those are coming from the master bomb bill of materials file. Okay. So yeah, so this concludes the demo. This is how we can build our files. And accordingly, if you wanted to deploy to your cloud up, right? If your deployment option is cloud up 1.0, then you can add your properties as and when needed. So for this time, I will skip the part because we are crossing 1 hour mark. So if you have any questions, you can ask me.
Yes, Shyam, one question. Um, if I want to overrule the version, for example, I have everything
Mm-hmm.
in the master bomb version, the last one which
Correct.
you showed as an example for an HTTP connector.
Yeah.
Let's say I have 10
Mm-hmm.
projects. I want to refer from a parent master bomb, but let's say
Mm-hmm.
one project that under development. Let's say there is
Mm-hmm.
some issue. I want to try with the different connectors, but all of the projects has to still run or being developed by the master bomb. So how can I overrule that in the
Got it.
POM or a parent
So
POM?
yeah, so the problem statement you have presented is, let's say HTTP connector version is 1.6.0 in master bomb,
Yeah.
but you want to have 1.7.3 version in your Mule application specific form, correct?
Yes. Only for one or two projects, which
So I
currently.
haven't tried this, but let's give it a try right now. I'll just add a version over here, okay? Let's try
Mhm.
to add and see whether this overrides the master bomb or not. I think it should, but let's give a check. So I have given version over here. So yeah, it started downloading that. Uh, oh, I have given bad. Let's see. Yeah, you can see. You can
It works.
directly
Yeah.
overrule.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Perfect. So I think the same that can be done in if we want, we can also do it in a parent bomb instead of master bomb as well, I
yeah, yeah.
guess.
So for yeah, for some projects I have seen most of the architects don't prefer master bomb as well. They try to do everything in parent bomb, so that is
Yeah.
also okay. But yeah, if you go with master bomb, it looks clean approach, right? So this is
Yeah.
also the MuleSoft recommended approach.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other, it's not a question. This is a good, a starting point to organize the BOM and POM.
Yeah.
Do you guys also upload this sample POC which you are showing now, like including POM parent and also the master BOM? So that can be a
Mm,
starting point for anybody who is starting with the
I
POM.
guess we don't. I feel
Okay.
yeah. We only post the recording and what is say slides, right? Only
Yeah.
those things are uploaded.
Maybe
But
you
yeah, we
create
can
the
when
meetup
we
and share with us.
Oh, I can share with Shamraj then,
Yeah.
and he can upload it then, if that
uh,
works.
another question is I checked the past events and I see only the slides and not the recordings. So in order to access recordings, what do we have to do?
So in the Patna meetup, we have all the recordings. Okay. And that is available in the YouTube channel also.
Okay.
So yeah. Maybe some of the meetup group has not uploading the recordings. So usually I generally prefer like once the meetup is over, I will upload the video same day. So all the recording will be available in YouTube channel also. Maybe I will share that one.
I guess Ramchandran was asking for this form files, right? Right?
It would be great if you can share it with.
Yeah. So I can create one link. Okay. Just
Yeah, you can share it internally.
I can share it on code share. Okay.
Yeah.
Just open it. Guys are going to look at it.
So this is our Patna MuleSoft meetup group in the YouTube. I pasted in the chat. So if you can see, like all the previous recording is also available in this.
So guys, I will post file one by one. Okay. So please copy it. Okay. Sponsored XML. Let me know once it is done.
Maybe it will be good if you can share with GitHub repo also. Create a sample public repo and share it.
Oh, I'm on my company's machine, so no public
Okay.
repositories. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It is
You can share next time.
okay.
It's populated.
Got it. I delete this and share the parent form. Parent form.
The same process which I have done. I have also done in the instructor-led training.
Yeah. So this is part of I guess production ready development practices first
Yeah.
training for
Yeah.
MCD level 2.
Also, if anyone is interested to speak up, they can reach out to me. Okay, and we can plan. And also, we are always looking for a new speaker in this group. And we have a next meetup planned on after 2 weeks. That is on cryptography. Please register to that one also and join us.
Yeah. Let me know if it is done.
Go
Yes.
ahead, Sam, with the bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. This bomb. So in the like real world projects, right? Uh, there might be many more plugins like Maven deploy plugin, site plugin, enforcer plugin, Maven release plugin, right? If you want to release with a tag, right? So you can add those as well. And also a wide variety of connector you can add according to your. So generally, platform architect has an idea on the future roadmap of the use cases, right? How many systems we would have or the core systems that we are going to add. Depending on that, we can add the modules or connectors.
Yeah, I think we are done with master bomb.
Yeah. I cannot share settings.xml.
Yeah, can we have the pom.xml? I think
Yeah, I
we
already
have
shared
to.
at the beginning.
Okay.
Do you want it again? I can.
Yeah, possible. Thanks.
Everybody, like, you have done with the copying this master bomb, right?
Yeah, Sam.
Yeah. I'll paste the POM XML. I'll show you another approach, okay, meanwhile, uh, that I was talking about regarding the relative path, right? So it is something like this. Go to your project root structure. You can add a new folder, let's say parent-pom, another folder, let's say master-bom. Since Maven only reads by the name pom.xml, right? So we have to add a pom.xml over here. Let's say this is saved as a text file. So as yeah, so this is XML. Copy this here as well. So this this kind of structure is also possible if you have the master BOM and parent BOM at the root level of your project structure only. What changes you need to do, right? So in the parent of Mule application specific form XML, you need to add one relative camel case path, okay? And here you have to go one folder back, go to this particular folder slash form.xml. So this is the way it can be implemented as well. Okay. For now, I won't implement it, but yeah, I can also post this tag. Uh, any other questions or any other asset do you need? If I have missed, I can share you the settings.xml that I have used, but the encrypted one directly if you need. Anybody? If you need, or we are good to go.
Yes, that would be great.
Also, Sham, you can also remove your credential spot, right? Just you can place a placeholder for username or password
Yeah,
something.
some dummy values.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just take out your credentials. Probably
No, no, I copied it directly from Maven command only, so there are no credentials at all.
okay.
Share. Yeah. So you can add here username as demo user, right? Releases Enterprise Edition and V2. You can use a Exchange Maven facade as well, V3 version. I
Mhm.
haven't given it a try, but yeah, I was facing some error. Precondition error response code. So I need to look at it. Exactly was causing failure. So it most probably might have been the case that my API specification name, right, which I have created in Design Center, and my Mule application name, since both are same, right, it was causing some error. I don't know. Yeah, need to check. Yeah. So I can share you the distribution management tag as well if you need to deploy to a remote repository. Mm, yes, I have pasted it. Yeah, this. Yeah, this is the tag. You have to add your any. Let's say if you are leveraging AnyPoint Exchange V3, then you have to give your AnyPoint the URL where it should be uh, installed, right, or where it should be deployed. Then this command will, sorry, this particular tag will deploy it to the that particular URL. Okay, so we'll share this as well. Project.group ID will eventually come from your POM XML, which is AnyPoint Platform Business Group ID. And another point which we can discuss is, let's say, yeah, one interesting point. Um, let's say if you want to deploy your Mule application to Cloud Hub, right? And if the MFA is enabled, multi-factor authentication, then using simple, let's say if the client says that, okay, let's create an integration user and then directly give it. So it is one of the worst practice that we can have. Instead, what we can do, we can create a connected app, and the connected app approach only will work in this particular case. Connected app and provide the sufficient scopes, and then you will be able to deploy it to your target destination. So this is one another point. If the MFA is enabled, simple username and password won't work. You have to add connected app client credentials. So yeah, that's it from my end.
Sham, I have one question.
Yeah,
So normally, like we copy our settings.xml file in a .m2 repository. So here you are not doing that. You are directly using that Apache settings.xml, right? You are just
correct.
mentioning the local repository tag here.
Yes.
Okay.
So Apache Maven conf, it has a more precedence over .m2 repository settings.xml. Okay. So by the way, I have done some changes in preferences as well. I'll show you Maven. So see, I have overridden my Maven local repository location. It is this particular thing. And if I show you my Apache Maven, so in the conf, I create multiple settings corresponding to a client. So currently this settings is being focused. If I remove this and keep it in the uh, in my .m2 folder, right?
You have to go into C,
Uh, users .m2.
and that is also one of the best practice. Like we have to configure the Maven in the command
Yeah,
prompt and any Pointer Studio. Both should be same.
yeah. So yeah, that can also be done. But I need to check which overrides, like who overrides whom, right? So I need to check that.
Okay.
All right. If you guys have any other questions.